Today, in the House of Commons, it's been the first Prime Minister's Questions of the year. Boris Johnson, of course, the Prime Minister, up against, no, not Sir Keir Starmer. He's got COVID again. Sadly, in his case, clearly the booster didn't work. So he was represented by Angela Rayner. And it focused very heavily on the cost of living. That was the Labour attack line. But what I found particularly interesting was the debate around VAT. VAT on our heating bills. And this is what Angela Rayner had to say.
Mr Speaker, I'll tell you what this Prime Minister is doing. He's increasing taxes to the hard-working people of this country. That's what he's doing. That's what he didn't promise in his manifesto, but that's what he's doing to the people. And I quote, Mr Speaker, the poorest households spend 3 times more on their income on household energy bills than the richest households spend. VAT on energy bills makes gas and electricity more expensive. Not my words, Mr Speaker, but the words of the Prime Minister himself. When energy bills are going to be hiked again in April, any decent government would find a way to help British families. Even the Tory backbenchers have finally accepted Labour's call to cut VAT on energy bills. So will he finally stand up to his Chancellor and do the same?
Mr Speaker, let me remind, because she wasn't obviously listening to the previous answer, let me remind her the Warm Homes discount already, 2.2 million people supported to the tune of £140 a week. Pensioners supported with £300 through the winter fuel payment. The cold weather payments for 4 million people.
Well, here's the point. You see, the Labour Party there are saying cut VAT on fuel bills, and I agree with them. Funnily enough, as Remainers, they couldn't have done that because the European Union has set a minimum of 5%, which is where that levy is. And yet Boris Johnson, who came back at Angela Rayner and said to her very clearly, you've changed your mind. You're now advocating doing something that would only be allowed under Brexit. We now have the freedom to do this. The question is, Prime Minister, why aren't you doing it? Because the argument that's now being put by Number 10 is, if we cut VAT on heating bills, that means a lot of better off people will also benefit. Yes, Prime Minister, but it would be a very clear way of demonstrating a real dividend from Brexit. Goodness me, you never know. Next, the Labour Party may even start debating the 25% surcharge on our electricity bills for green subsidy, though I rather doubt it. But it was good that debate happened in the House of Commons because the cost of living and indeed the energy bills when they arrive this April is going to be a major political issue. And there's another issue that I've been talking about that explains in many ways why support is leaching away from the Conservative Party in the Red Wall, and it is on the issue of immigration. Now, very rarely does anybody in the House of Commons even discuss the subject, but Sir Edward Lee chose to in PMQs today.
Apparently the government is thinking of relaxing visa controls from India in order to get a free trade deal. Whilst a free trade deal is valuable in itself, we should not be held to ransom. Would he agree with me that our new working class voters who voted Brexit did not vote to replace immigration from Europe with more immigration from the rest of the world, any more that when they were told that they would take back control, we would lose control of the channel? So will he convince us that he's determined to connect to our supporters and control immigration?
Yes, Mr. I don't recognise the account he's given at all. We don't do free trade deals on that basis, and I can tell him actually that net immigration since we took back control has gone down, Mr. Speaker.
Well, net migration's gone down because of the pandemic, and when it comes to what's happening over the Channel, Boris Johnson did not have an answer. But there are two big debates that'll go on throughout this year, and they may well shape where politics goes.